You know, we're always told that leadership is about climbing the ladder, about gaining power. But what if that's all wrong? What if the real measure of a leader has nothing to do with their presence and everything to do with their absence? Okay, so we all know a leader's impact grows through their people. That seems obvious. But the real question is, what kind of leadership actually multiplies it? I mean, how do you go beyond just adding a little value here and there and instead create something that just grows and grows, even when you're not around anymore? I want you to think for a second about the leaders you've worked with. You've got the ones who gather all the attention, right? The charismatic star of the show. Then you have the ones who gather all the control, the micromanager. But then there are few who do something totally different. They create a legacy. To really get this, we've got to bust a major myth first. It's the myth of the hero leader, this idea of the strong, indispensable person at the top. And yeah, it sounds great, but it's got a huge fundamental flaw. You know the stereotype, right? The strong leader is supposed to be super visible, the one with all the authority, the one who's just constantly decisive. This is that hero leader we were just talking about, the one who swoops in and saves the day. But here's the problem. That model creates a massive bottleneck. And this is where you can really see the difference. Look at this. The hero leader. They're the one fixing every single problem themselves. But a scalable leader, they're busy building up the team's ability to solve problems. The hero wants all the decisions to come through them. The scalable leader pushes that authority out. It's a huge difference. One creates a team that depends on them for everything, while the other builds a team that's truly resilient. Because here's the secret. Strong personalities don't scale. But you know what does? Strong systems and strong people. So, this whole idea leads us to some really groundbreaking work by a researcher named Liz Wiseman. She basically found that leaders fall into two camps, what she calls multipliers, who make everyone around them smarter, and diminishers, who, well, kind of shut it all down. And the difference is just night and day. Diminishers, they accumulate everything. They hoard decisions, they take all the credit, they need all the control. But multipliers, they do the exact opposite. They multiply things in other people, their judgment, their confidence, their capability. One creates dependency, the other creates real, lasting resilience. Wiseman has this great term for them, genius makers. It's because they work from this core belief that people are smart, and if you give them a chance, they'll figure it out. So their job isn't to be the genius in the room, it's to unleash the genius in everyone else. And when you do that, you kick off this incredible cycle of growth. And get this, the results are absolutely staggering. The research showed that multipliers get, on average, twice the capability out of their people compared to diminishers. Think about that, 2 times the output. They don't just use the intelligence their people have, they amplify it. But here's the really interesting part. Most of the time, this diminishing behavior isn't coming from some evil, tyrannical boss. Nope. It's usually accidental. It's from well-meaning leaders, accidental diminishers, who are just trying to be helpful. You know the type. The leader who's so full of great ideas that they jump in to solve every problem. But what they're accidentally telling their team is, hey, your ideas aren't really needed here. Okay, so if the goal is to empower people, does that just mean you step back and let go completely, right? Just hands off? Absolutely not. And that's actually a really common and pretty dangerous way to get it wrong. See, true empowerment isn't abandonment at all. It's a super intentional process. First, you've got to share the context, the why behind everything. Then you have to actually teach judgment, not just tell people what to do, but teach them how to think. And finally, you set clear boundaries. You define the playing field so they know where they can run free. And this sums it up perfectly. People don't need total freedom with no direction. That's just chaos. What they need is clarity combined with trust. When you give someone crystal clear context and then trust them to operate within those boundaries, man, that's where the magic happens. Clarity is what scales. Control just holds you back. And all of this empowerment, all this clarity, it's all building towards one thing, getting your team to shift from just complying with orders to having a real sense of ownership. This is just a deep psychological truth. Think about it. You can make someone follow a rule, but you can never, ever force them to care. Caring comes from feeling responsible for something. And when people feel like owners, they don't just clock in and clock out. They protect the work. They make it better. They actually nurture it. So how do you actually create that feeling? Well, Ownership really starts to happen when people can clearly see the consequences of what they do, both the good and the bad. It happens when you trust them with real responsibility, not just a to-do list, and they can see for themselves the impact their decisions have. This all leads to a pretty radical shift in how we should think about success in leadership. It's not a performance. It's not about being the star of the show. It's about a transfer of knowledge, of standards, of capability to the people who come next. A leader with that performance mindset is all about them. They need to be impressive, indispensable, the center of attention. But a leader with a transfer mindset, they're focused on what they can build in other people. They're obsessed with transferring high standards, passing on the core values, and building the confidence for others to step up and lead. And that brings us to the ultimate litmus test, the single most powerful question you can ask. What happens when you're not there? Seriously, if everything grinds to a halt, if standards slip, if the energy just dies, then the whole system was just dependent on you. But if the team keeps humming along, making great decisions, well, that's when you know you've actually succeeded. So we really need to rethink this whole idea of a leader with followers. The goal isn't to collect people who depend on you. No way. The highest form of leadership is actually making yourself replaceable. It's developing people so well that they can step into your shoes and carry the mission forward with the exact same care and judgment. So what does that look like in the real world? It's when your people make great decisions without you. It's when they uphold the standards not because they have to, but because it's just who they are. It's when they carry the purpose forward without needing you to supervise them. That's the goal. And that right there, that's the moment your impact stops being about just you. It's been multiplied. That is how leadership becomes a legacy. It stops being about what you accomplished and it becomes about what continues to happen long into the future simply because you were there. So let me leave you with this final thought. A tough question, maybe. If you walked away from your team tomorrow, would everything just stop? If the answer is yes, then maybe you haven't been leading. You've just been managing. Because the real lasting work of leadership is to build something that doesn't need you at all.